This is CBC Here and Now.
Family members have identified a homicide victim while police still search for answers.
One of us gives up our employment, our careers that we've worked very hard to get, or potentially leave the province that we love.
Dismissed from daycare, families of children with autism are struggling to find support.
Today we have 5 employees and we are growing, and we will go to the Dragons, and I hope to accelerate the process of growth.
A St. John's business that produces baby products hopes to make a deal in the Dragon's Den next month. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin with breaking news. RNC Constable Doug Snellgrove is going to prison. Multiple sources have confirmed to CBC News that the province's Court of Appeal has dismissed Snellgrove's request to overturn his sexual assault conviction. Now, Snellgrove sexually assaulted a woman after he drove her home from a downtown bar while he was on duty in 2014. The woman testified she was intoxicated and can't remember consenting to any sexual acts between them. Snellgrove was convicted almost 2 years ago during his 3rd trial on the same charge. He'll go to prison for 4 years. He's been out on bail for the past 16 months as he awaited the appeal decision. Now to Harbour Grace. Family members there have identified the victim of a homicide as 34-year-old Adam Mercer. The family is not speaking publicly, but is sharing their memories of Mercer on social media. A Facebook post by his brother described the father of 4 as being a grandson, uncle, nephew, cousin, and a friend to so many. Mercer's remains were found inside a burned vehicle on Glover Road last week. Police say the vehicle was found several kilometers down the road in a muddy area that was difficult to reach. The RCMP is asking anyone with dash cam footage from the intersection of Glover Road to the Veterans Memorial Highway between April 9th and 10th to contact police. Lawyers in Clarenville are concerned they'll be left without a steady Crown prosecutor for the next several months. The town's courthouse has seen a number of prosecutors come and go over the last 2 years since the full-time Crown went on sick leave. As Here and Now's Ryan Cook reports, there's concern the problem is getting worse.
There was just one matter on the docket in Clarenville last Wednesday. Nothing major, but perhaps most notable because of who the Crown was. Taylor Sterrett, a private defense lawyer hired to prosecute. Clarenville doesn't have a prosecutor right now, and that's a problem for local defense lawyers like Patricia Kirby.
You don't know who the Crown attorney is going to be from day to day. If you go down on a plea day, you don't know if they're going to be ready to deal with anything, and a lot of matters are getting set over.
The court did have someone consistent for the past 15 months. Chris McCarthy came out of retirement to fill the vacancy in January 2022, but wasn't renewed at the end of last month.
I was happy to stay. If my performance was an issue, it was never communicated to me. Other Crowns seemed quite happy. The court certainly seemed happy. The RCMP were extremely happy, as was Victim Services. We all had, as best can be in the justice system, quite a happy little family up there in Clarenville.
The Justice Department isn't commenting on why McCarthy wasn't renewed, saying it's an HR matter. However, in a statement, they say it's not uncommon to hire private lawyers to act as agents of the Crown. That's news to Kirby, who used to be the prosecutor in Clarenville.
I started with the Crown in 2002. I could probably count on one hand the number of times I know of where an agent was hired. Parachuting people in from day to day is just going to clog up the system more and more and more.
McCarthy has similar concerns about filling the gaps over the next few months.
If you're there Tuesday and not back at all, or for another month, you don't get that perspective. You don't know the people, you don't know the community, and I think that justice suffers from the perspective of the accused and the court as well as the victim.
Judge Paul Noble learned last Wednesday morning that the full-time prosecutor who's been off on sick leave will be returning in June. Until then, as he puts it, the Crown roulette at the Clarenville Courthouse will continue. Ryan Cook, CBC News, Clarenville.
Well, now turning to politics, Premier Andrew Furey spoke with reporters about several issues following an event in downtown St. John's this morning. It was the first time the Premier has spoken since the completion of the testing on the Muskrat Falls hydroelectric project. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro completed its tests of the Labrador Island Link last month, and Hydro says the system performed as expected. The official commissioning of the project should happen soon. Furey, however, was careful in his comments.
I'm cautiously optimistic that it's a step in the right direction. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like you endorse full commissioning as of now.
Well, I mean, I'm not an engineer. I don't officially commission the project myself. Certainly be having the conversation with Ms. Williams and her team about the reliability and the load that was tested under. But it's certainly, look, it's not a project I created. It's one that we're trying to manage. I do think that this is a good step in the right direction from where we took it over.
Now, the Premier also commented on the protest held by crab harvesters outside Confederation Building yesterday. He was asked about the request by some harvesters to send their catch out of the province to be processed, something that would likely require a change in legislation.
I'd like to have a discussion with Mr. Priddy and the FFAW to see if that's their position. I understand that is the position of some of their members, but perhaps not all their members. And if that's a conversation that they want to have, it'd be certainly one that we would be willing to have.
Well, it was a cool morning out there for a good chunk of the island. Labrador, though, for the west anyway, you hovered around the 1 degree mark. Otherwise, most of us were sitting into the minus single digits overnight last night. And if we take a look at what's going on right now, fog monster is currently moving in, and we can see that on the satellite. You can see that moving in from the east. Now, the winds are generally from the east or southeast, and that's what's keeping temperatures cool out there. But we do have an area of low pressure bringing some showers already to the southwest coast of the island. That will continue to work its way further east and north as we head through the night. Tonight temperatures, there you go, 3 degrees it topped out at in St. John's. Much cooler if you're away from that onshore, or much warmer, I should say, away from that onshore floor. 10 degrees in Badger today, same thing for Deer Lake, and temperatures across Labrador anywhere from 3 to 6 degrees, a little cooler to the north. Now we still have some gusty winds. Wreck House area 94 kilometers per hour. Environment Canada still has that Wreck House wind warning in place. We'll talk all about that and the forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, police are asking the public to be mindful of the increasing presence of motorcycles on the province's roadways. The RCMP responded to 2 collisions over the weekend, both involving motorcycles and resulting in critical injuries. The first accident happened on Sunday, shortly after noon, between an SUV and a motorcycle on Route 463 in West Bay. The 63-year-old man driving the motorcycle was taken to the Health Sciences Centre in St. John's. Then around 6 o'clock Sunday evening, there was a single vehicle crash on Salmoneer Line. A 53-year-old man was taken to the same hospital where he remains in critical condition. Police say the investigations into both accidents are ongoing. Well, 2 separate families who have children with autism say their kids have been dismissed from daycare because of a severe shortage of early childhood educators on the Avalon. It's caused the cancellation of inclusion support programs, and the province's Autism Society says dozens more are in the same spot. Here Now's Heather Gillis has this feature report.
3.5-year-old William Lomontang is at home having a snack. He should be at daycare, but he was dismissed in January, a move that blindsided his mom, Kristen Parsons Lomontang.
And then one day my husband went to pick him up at the daycare, and we were advised that he was being discharged due to lack of staffing and resources.
It gave Parsons Lomontang only a week to find an alternative. But as any family knows, finding daycare right now is difficult. Spots are sparse and wait lists can stretch up to 2 years long. Things are even tougher for Parsons Lomontang because William has autism and needs an inclusion support worker.
We were told that that inclusion worker was going to fill another spot and that they would have to look and recruit for an ECE level 2.
A blow for her family, who moved to Paradise last year from Western Labrador because she couldn't find daycare there for William. autism services were lacking, and they didn't have a family doctor. Since attending daycare in St. John's, she says William has flourished.
He went from a little guy who had challenges with self-regulation, transitioning, verbal skills, even eating, to being a boy that could go to daycare almost 7 hours a day, to being able to go in and outside without very, very limited temper tantrums, and being able to socially engage to the point he could then request songs like Bad Bad Black Sheep, something he never did in the home.
Now Parsons Lomontagne says William is regressing. She says she's tried calling hundreds of daycares and day homes, tried to hire a nanny, and even had her mom come in for 6 weeks to help. But she still can't find a long-term solution. And with all avenues exhausted, the family is now facing difficult choices.
Either one of us gives up our employment, our careers that we've worked very hard to get, or potentially leave the province that we love. And that's difficult for us because as a mom and a dad, when you are given the gift of a child and that child's laid on a mom's chest, you say at the end of the day, you're going to do everything in your possibility to give them the best life.
Now she's considering moving the family again, this time to Calgary, where the family visited last week.
Within the first week, we were able to find 3 daycares that were willing to accept William, and they hadn't even met him.
The Pikes are in a similar situation with 4-year-old Benjamin. He too has autism and was dismissed from a different daycare this month.
It's a very frustrating situation, being told that your son is being let go from daycare because he needs extra support. Very disheartening.
It was shocking because we anticipated that he was going to be there at this daycare until he went to school of next summer, right at the end of next summer. So we were like, this is not the way. And we've been there for like 4 years at this point, right?
They're facing the same uphill battle Parsons Lomontagne is. Daycare isn't easy to find, and there's no easy solution.
We both work full-time jobs. I work mornings, my wife works evenings. It's not like we also have a lot of family around. Both my parents work full-time. So in the meantime, it's just, make do with just us.
They too say their son blossomed at daycare and worry about a loss of socialization.
And his speech while he was there has grown immensely.
The Pikes are frustrated, and they say the situation feels like discrimination.
The government decided to do a $10 daycare, which we thought at the time was great. But it just seems like it's just left the whole industry in shambles.
Why are they being ignored, right? It's not good enough.
Meanwhile, both families have contacted their MP and MHAs. Parsons Lomontagne also feels the situation is discriminatory. She's asked Health and Education Ministers, the Premier's office, and the Human Rights Commission for help.
But now we are left in a predicament after reaching out to everyone that we thought we could reach out to every leader that we thought could help us, to know that we have to make the decision because we hit a roadblock and now it's a dead end.
And I say it's a crisis. That's a word we don't use lightly. It is definitely a crisis in our community.
Leah Farrell is an advocacy coordinator with the province's Autism Society. She says these 2 families aren't alone, with many other children facing daycare dismissals too.
They're the only the people that we've actually heard from that have reached out to us. I know that some families are trying to get through the day to day, and they don't have the capacity to necessarily reach out to us and to have these big conversations.
The problem, according to one child care industry worker, dates back to 2017. That's when the provincial government changed the laws requiring people working at registered daycares to upgrade their education and become, at minimum, a level 1 early childhood educator. Education Minister John Haggie refused interview requests, but a spokesperson for his department says they gave workers 5 years to upgrade their education, and there was financial assistance to do so. The department also says that upgrading increases the quality of childcare and promotes professionalization in the sector.
But ECE Trista Wells says some people don't want to upgrade. At one time, she says daycares could hire retired teachers, social work students, or others who passed first aid and background checks to work as inclusion workers. Now they have to be ECEs, which are in short supply, causing the cancellation of inclusion support programs for kids with exceptionalities like William and Benjamin.
And it leads us to having to use our inclusion supports as regular staffing ratio, which is leaving our children without the support that they need to be able to participate meaningfully in the program. And at the end of the day, when we're unable to meet the children's needs and to help support them, we have no choice but to dismiss their spaces, and it's not fair to them.
Yeah, it's crippling. It's heartbreaking, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, here's a feel-good story for you now. The town of Lewisport honored a local hero last night.
Mike, welcome for the first time to the newly renamed stadium, the Mike Austin Arena.
A surprise ceremony was held to name the local stadium in honor of 44-year-old Mike Austin. He was born with a condition that affects his balance, fine motor skills, and speech. But Austin is best known as the man who never misses a single hockey game at the stadium. Austin has also been a Special Olympian for 2 decades and has won national and provincial medals in track and field and snowshoeing. Many people flocked to Ferryland today to check out an iceberg. After the break, we'll take you there for a closer look.
See some fog out there. That's really going to be the story over the next little bit. We've got some rain on the way as well. I'll get into all the details coming up.
The crunch is pleasing.
Crunch is
It is.
And meet a couple who test different types of foods and rank their favorites on social media. That's coming up a little later in the show.
This is street photographer Richie Perez. He's been showing up all over Newfoundland and Labrador, meeting folks and taking their pictures, but also talking to them and connecting with their stories, with their communities. Wednesdays this month on Here and Now, you will meet Richie and some of these people. We're calling it The Signal Connects.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Early bird prize deadline is midnight Friday, May 5th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Got to enjoy a bit of sunshine in St. John's today, and it's been so great that the days are just getting longer and longer.
They absolutely are. We're about, I think, 7:54 is when the sun sets tonight in St. John's, but in a week, we passed that 8 p.m. threshold, which is very nice. Let's take a look at where we will be over the next little bit. So on the 23rd, I believe it is, that's when we pass the 8 p.m. threshold. But up until then, in a month from now, we'll be talking about sunsets at 8:30. And by the longest day of the year, June 21st, that sunset will be 9:02. So we're currently gaining about 3 minutes and 16 seconds of daylight each day, and that will come down a little bit over the next little bit. But this is the case pretty much for all of the province, all of the island and most of Labrador. But those of you in Lab West are already seeing those sunsets past 8 p.m. Temperatures today, pretty much all over the board. 10 degrees, that was a hot spot through Badger, Deer Lake, up across Labrador. Temperatures between 3 and 6 degrees for central coastal areas, cooler to the north. And really in that onshore flow for the eastern portion of the Avalon, we're seeing those temperatures in the single digits this afternoon. Currently down to -2 in St. John's now that fog's rolled in, and still sitting at about 10 degrees in Badger. So a beautiful evening still for you. And then Labrador, you're looking at your temperature still above zero for the most part, between 3 and 6 degrees, that hot spot being in Happy Valley, Goose Bay. So just taking a look at what's going on right now, that cloud cover, high cloud anyway, is starting to work its way in. And we do have some showers already for the southwest coast. And that's going to continue to spread north and east as we head through the overnight hours tonight. That's doing a pretty good job as far as the future tracker is concerned. Some showers are going to work their way through Happy Valley, Goose Bay as well. We may see some mixing with this. Higher elevations, good chance we'll see that across the island as well. But for the most part, temperatures are going to stay above zero. Now through central parts of the northeast coast, this will drop down. So we could see some rain mixed with snow, or some flurries even at this case by the time we get into the morning hours. That will be the story through central Labrador as well as the coast. Now temperatures overnight tonight will hover around the 0 degree mark, stay around -2. So where we're sitting now in St. John's, and then as you head further west and south, those temperatures will hover between 1 and 2 degrees. That will be the story up across Labrador as well. Winds will be out of the southeast tonight, between 30 and about 50 kilometers per hour. But those of you prone to southeasterlies may see these winds a little bit higher than that. Now, as we head into tomorrow, not a whole lot of change in the forecast. It'll be a bit wet in the morning. Should dry out, though, for the west and central Newfoundland as we head into the afternoon hours. It's going to linger, though, for the northern peninsula, pretty much all along the northeast coast with that shower activity. As far as Labrador is concerned, you're looking at the potential for some flurries pretty much right across the board as we head into the evening hours on Thursday as well. And then into Thursday morning, another round will move in, at least the chance will move in as we head through the morning hours. Now the wind, still pretty windy down along the Rec House area. Those wind gusts expected to be around 100 to 110 kilometers per hour right as we head into tomorrow morning. But really, those areas prone to southeasterlies could see those gusts between 60, maybe even 70 kilometers per hour through the overnight southeastern Labrador Northern Peninsula as well. And then they'll eventually ease off as we head into tomorrow evening. Now, for tomorrow, winds will still stay pretty brisk. They're going to still be out of the southeast, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. That is going to keep those temperatures a tad cooler, around 2 to 4 degrees, it looks like, as the daytime highs. Again, that chance of showers not consistently, but you're still looking at that chance through the day. Again, should dry out through central portions as we head into the afternoon hours. Temperatures will be somewhere between 2 and about 7 degrees warmer the further west you go. That's really the story for the west coast this time as well. Your winds will be a bit brisk in the morning, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, but they will ease as the day goes on. You're looking at daytime highs between 10 to 11 degrees. Good chance the sun will peek out as well, especially into the afternoon hours. Northern Peninsula, you're going to stay on the cool side. Still looking at those winds out of the southeast between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour, hence your temperatures between 1 and about 3 degrees. Can't rule out the chance of some wet snow. Really, as we head into Thursday as well, going to keep an eye on that one. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But 7 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay, so you're going to stay well above zero. But as you head into the evening hours, that potential for snow will move in. So we'll talk all about that in the long-range forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, a beautiful sight in Ferryland is drawing some attention. Visitors headed to the town today to get a look at a huge iceberg. Our Here and Now crew headed there as well, but got a special bird's eye view of the berg with a drone. And Ferryland Mayor Aidan Costello says the town welcomes the boost in visitors. Have a look.
It arrived in Sunday evening and woke up yesterday morning, and it was just on the back of the islands there in the harbour, so quite visible from the shoreline. Since the word got out all day yesterday and right up until dark yesterday evening, we had quite a few people. So yesterday was quite busy, and again today we're seeing a lot of people. It's a great start to our tourism season. It's nice to see that many people around. I was just up at the restaurant and had a look there, and that was pretty busy. And I'm sure restaurants further along the shore in Cape Royal and are busy as well. So yeah, you can notice the traffic around town today for sure. We had an iceberg here 6 years ago that made the Canada postage stamp. So that was a big iceberg as well. So they had another one in town again. It's creating a bit of excitement. Right now, the wind is on shore, so it's keeping it in an area there that'll be safe for a while. But depends on the tide and the winds, of course. But right now, it's going to hang on for a while if the wind keeps blowing from the east. We're sure it's going to hang in there. Between the whales and the icebergs, they're becoming quite the attraction. As long as the existing attractions in town, the lighthouse picnics, the Colony of Avalon, the dinner theatre, and this is a bonus to have an iceberg this early in the season, and yeah, it's nice to see it.
One, the experience will be amazing, inspire other immigrants, but also create awareness about social enterprise, how you can do business, but also bringing back something good for your community is really important.
Mixing business with social responsibility. St. John's company Newbornlander hopes its pitch in the Dragon's Den next month will help grow the business. A St. John's business is looking forward to being in the national spotlight when it appears on the CBC show Dragon's Den next month. The company Newbornlander locally manufactures and sells baby clothes, but also focuses on social enterprising. Owner Constanza Safadale started the business in 2017 after she immigrated to St. John's from her home in Chile. She wants to grow her business while also increasing employment opportunities for other newcomers to the province. Take a look.
The name of the business is Newbornlander. So we are a baby store. We manufacture locally baby accessories, but while contributing to the local economy by employing immigrant women beyond all the barriers of languages and experience, while easing the path to better career for them.
How did you get started in this business?
Well, I started at my home as many immigrants, and I couldn't enter to the labor market. I was a commercial lawyer back home, so the transfer of credential was impossible, and I didn't speak a word of English. So I started at home, and I have my baby at that time, so I realized that was a big gap in the market for baby accessories. So I bought a domestic machine, couple of fabrics, started to watch videos in YouTube because I didn't know how to sew, and that is how Newbornlander started.
What sorts of things do you make here?
So our strengths are baby hats, and from winter, summer, spring. All our hats are designed. All of them are unique because I designed them by myself, and all of them are being tasted the Newfoundland weather, so they are perfect for children's, babies, and also now we do adult hats. As an immigrant, I faced many challenges, and the bigger one was enter to the labor market. I feel that the economic extreme, we are pretty isolated. It's not many programs for us there to join because we are not permanent resident, and definitely that have a huge impact at the time that you try to settle in this province and country. And entrepreneurship for me was the big answer. To show my skills, to create my own space of work, and also to create that space for other peers that are in the same situation.
So you are going to be on Dragon's Den. Why did you want to audition for that show?
Well, because we are growing, and for sure you can feel pain in that growth, and especially in the textile world. And I don't want to grow just with my guts of sense on business. I am looking for a partner. I am looking for accelerate the process. I don't want to be there in 20 years. I want to be in the next 5 years where I want to be. So I believe that being a national stage and show what we are doing, one, the experience could be amazing, inspire other immigrants, but also create awareness about social enterprise, how you can do business, but also bringing back something good for your community is really important. And yes, and I believe that they will be really engaged. It's not just the hat, it is the history behind that, the passion, the desire, for immigrants to belong to a new place. And I hope to the Dragons be engaged and run with me this dream and to show, value and skills, knowledge, culture, diversity, inclusion, equity, So.
It sounds like it'll be an exciting business opportunity just to be able to showcase your products on a national stage.
Yeah, actually, we are having now a big wholesale moment. Like we will be over 6 provinces, more than 20 wholesale. So we are here in our capacity. But I am happy. I hope that that can more bigger after the Dragons, getting ready to bring and welcome more immigrants, women to work with us and go beyond Canada,
So tell us what the schedule is. When are you going to be shooting the episode and all of that?
Okay, so the 20th of May we will travel. I don't know when will be the release. I hope I will need to put poker face after that day to don't tell anyone with my face what happened there. But definitely I will keep everyone in the loop in social media. Yes, and I hope that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians feel proud about us. I belong to this place. I identified as a Latin Newfoundlander, and I hope that they cheering us and they feel proud about what we are doing.
Well, a pandemic hobby is still going strong for a Mount Pearl couple. Cameron and Kim Williams decided to try some of their favorite foods and then rank them on social media. And after more than 75 taste tests, they have no plans to stop. Here's what the Williams family has to say about their tasty hobby.
get one item and we buy as many different varieties of that one item that we can and try them all and then rank them what we feel is the best to the worst. So for example, right now we have 6 different flavors of Reese's Pieces, and we will try them all and find out which ones we like the best. All right, so this is the cookie biscuit. You wanna try?
The crunch is pleasing.
Crunch is...
It is! I still like the cookie better.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. We started this because during the pandemic, during all the lockdowns, one of the only places that we could go was the grocery store. And we were looking for things to do that would be fun and would lighten our mood. And so, you know, when the kids went to bed, we would rank food.
We do it because it's a fun activity for us as a date night, but also with our kids. Like our 3-year-old, her favorite food in the world is soup. She loves soup. And so
Miso soup.
Miso soup is her favorite. So we did a ranking of all the canned Tim Hortons soups, and we might as well have taken her to Disney World. She was in her glee, going bowl to bowl, trying all the soups. We do this because it's fun. Life is really, really busy now, so it becomes something to do, something that's fun, something that's also easy to do.
We're certainly concerned for the workers, concerned for the citizens that will have the services disrupted. I'm hopeful that there will be some resolution with the federal employees prior to the strike moment.
That's what Premier Andrew Furey had to say about the potential strike involving federal public servants. We'll have the latest on negotiations between the Public Service Alliance of Canada and the federal government coming up. Policing has come under an increasing amount of scrutiny in recent years. There have been calls for more accountability from officers and departments. Well, this week, the CBC's Atlantic Investigative Unit is launching a major undertaking, a project examining the police complaint and discipline processes in all 4 provinces in Atlantic Canada. It's called Police and Public Trust. Investigative reporter Carissa Donkin has more.
So here in New Brunswick, there were almost 450 allegations made against municipal police officers over a 5-year time frame. Allegations that range from neglect of duty to discreditable conduct. But only about 5% of those allegations actually became public through a process called arbitration. And that's the kind of information gap that CBC set out to close all across the region. University of Winnipeg professor Kevin Walby says these kind of details should be made public.
Given the kinds of amazing or awesome powers of life and death that police have, the public deserves access to information regarding their conduct. And police also receive incredible budget lines to support their work.
CBC filed access to information requests to all municipal police forces across the region and the provincial police force in Newfoundland and Labrador. They asked for more than a decade's worth of data around police complaints. CBC also requested data from the RCMP, covering all 4 divisions across Atlantic Canada. So far, in 2 provinces, CBC has had to turn to the courts to fight for this information. CBC is in the early stages of its court case involving records held by the New Brunswick Police Commission. The other court battle in Nova Scotia has produced records that have never been made public. The information obtained by CBC shows most public complaints in that province are ruled unsubstantiated, and some officers have been repeatedly disciplined. This week, CBC will make those records from Nova Scotia available to the public for the first time ever, plus the results of our analysis of more than 900 complaints spanning more than a decade in that province. And in the weeks to come, we'll have more results from across the region. Carissa Donkin, CBC News, Fredericton.
The Public Service Alliance of Canada says its members are prepared to hit the picket lines if they don't have an agreement by 9 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. The union represents more than 155,000 federal public servants, including Canada Revenue Agency employees. The CBC's Kate McKenna has the latest.
The clock is ticking, still no deal.
I know that we're working very hard on the current negotiations. We have a competitive and fair wage on the table, and also that is reasonable to Canadians. Therefore, we're going to continue to work hard until we get to a deal.
The Canada's largest federal public service union gave Ottawa an ultimatum. If there's no plan by 9 p.m. Eastern Time, they strike. They've already set up toilets and offices in downtown Ottawa.
If there is a public service strike, there would be a serious impact on any departments that have staff who've been impacted. We know that processing delays are the kind of thing that could take place.
If workers strike, Canadians can expect longer waits, processing paperwork like taxes and employment insurance, also at airports and crossing land borders.
Strikes are very uncomfortable. Withdrawing your labor and not getting a paycheck is uncomfortable. Walking through picket lines is uncomfortable. The whole purpose is the union trying to make the employer uncomfortable.
The main sticking point is wages. The union wants a 13.5% increase over 3 years. So far, the government is only offering 9%. PSAC also wants rules about working from home enshrined in the collective agreement.
When the federal government represses its wages for its own employees, what they're doing is repressing wages for workers right across the country.
The union says it wants to use its size to pressure the government into making a precedent-setting deal. If it does go on strike later tonight, it'll be its largest strike since 1991. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
The inflation rate in Canada has slowed again. The consumer price index rose by 4.3% in March, down from 5.2% in February. And as CBC's Peter Armstrong reports, the cost of mortgages, gasoline, and groceries were key factors.
As the cost of food surged this year, prices here remained pretty steady.
We sell cinnamon in bulk. It's $1.95 for 100 grams.
The This food co-op in Halifax compared their prices to the grocery chains.
Organic cinnamon at Superstore was $14.26 per 100 grams. So you're looking at more than 7 times the price for an identical product.
How? Why? The answer is pretty simple.
We don't make any profit. We charge a small markup over wholesale prices.
Today's CPI numbers show price growth for everything is slowing. Much of that is driven by the falling cost of gasoline. By the summer, the Bank of Canada now expects year-over-year inflation to fall to 3% and get all the way back to 2% by next year. But don't mistake that progress in the fight to rein in inflation for prices actually falling. Food costs went up 10.6% in February. They only grew by 9.7% in March. Even if that rate fell to the 2% target, that still means prices are climbing, just at a more manageable level. And weathering those higher prices will get more difficult as economists expect the economy to slow in the coming months. Higher interest rates are squeezing households renewing their mortgages.
A lot of uncertainties currently because we are sort of at this turning point, this peak of the current economic cycle, so to speak, where a lot more weakness can be expected moving forward.
We're headed into a tricky time. For months now, jobs and GDP have been surprisingly resilient, but that resiliency is about to be tested as prices continue to rise and interest rates continue to bite, all while the economy is expected to slow to a crawl. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Galen Weston is stepping down as president of the grocery chain Loblaw starting next year. He'll be replaced by a Danish retail executive in early 2024. The announcement comes after mounting pressure and recent public controversies over rising food prices and a big pay increase for Weston. Loblaw says the leadership transition was planned in advance as part of a senior executive shuffle. Weston has been president of the company since 2021. He'll remain the chair of Loblaw as well as CEO of its parent company, George Weston Limited. Well, Russia says the country's leader made a visit to a territory in Ukraine today. Now, this video supplied by the Kremlin, which it says shows Vladimir Putin arriving in the Kherson region. It is one of the areas of Ukraine Russia claims to have annexed. Russian forces retreated from its capital last November, but they remain in control of part of the region. The Kremlin says Putin also visited the Luhansk region, which Russia also claims to have annexed. An unusually wet winter set the stage for this stunning show in California's Antelope Valley, north of Los Angeles. A super bloom of golden poppies and wildflowers, so big and vibrant they can even be seen from space. The area is a protected reserve showcasing about 700 hectares of the eye-popping state flower. It's open to the public year-round, but it's only filled with poppies for a small slice of the year. We'll be right back with one last look at Ashley's local forecast after the break.
Well, just before we get to the forecast, we have a very interesting story to share with you.
Yes, a bear on BC's Sunshine Coast showed a big sweet tooth recently. It broke into a woman's car and drank dozens of cans of pop as she watched from a safe distance.
Yeah, and the bear's antics were all caught on her home security camera, so take a look.
It was about 3 in the morning and my dog actually alerted me to something was out there. So I took a look outside and I saw the bear, and then later on looked at my security cameras and saw him enter the yard and smash the window really quickly. I'd left the door open if he'd have tried it. He could have gone in that way. I could see him coming in and out of the truck with different pop. He started with the Orange Crush, and eventually the last thing he got was the Diet Pop. So out of the 72 pop, he drank 69 of them. And you could hear him slurping it the whole time. And he didn't break them open with his claws as you would think he would. He used his teeth every time. And I tried reasoning with him. I explained to him how important the car was and that I had to go to work the next morning. That didn't seem to affect him whatsoever.
What an incredible story.
69 cans.
He had some sugar rush.
Oh yeah, big time. Big sugar fix there, and a lot of damage to the vehicle too.
That's unfortunate.
For sure. Okay, so let's look at the long range forecast. Temperature's not great, right?
No, they're not great, and unfortunately there's actually the chance that we'll see some snow in the long range forecast. I mean, we're in April though, and whatever does fall never lasts long.
That's right.
So that's good. But let's take a look at what's going to happen as we head into the evening hours on Wednesday and then into Thursday. So essentially it's the same area of low pressure, then another one heads to the south, and that's what's going to bring some rain through the overnight. Then some colder air will work its way in, and at this point looks like it will change over to snow at some point and then back over to rain into the evening hour. So like I said, whatever does fall shouldn't last long, but we're looking at potentially about 5 centimeters of snow, but we'll keep an eye on that one for sure. You'll see the temperatures as we head through the day will sit somewhere between 3 and 5 degrees, but it's Thursday evening that those temperatures will drop, and we'll see that risk of snow for the northern peninsula, central areas of the island. Definitely along the coast of Labrador, but we could see some of that snow for the northern Avalon as well. So we're certainly going to keep an eye on that one. And here's that changeover I was talking about. Now, as we get into the morning hours on Friday, this should change right back over to rain as these temperatures climb up. But if we do see some accumulation, it'll likely only be on the grassy surfaces. Temperatures and road temperatures are way too warm for this to really stick around for any length of time, that's for sure. So as we head into Friday afternoon, we should see the precipitation generally end. We may see some lingering cloud cover as well as some drizzle with this one, but for the most part, it will end, and the winds will ease as well, it looks like at this point, at least into the evening hours. Temperatures will sit again between 2 and about 5 degrees. South coast of the island, you're away from that onshore flow. That means we should see some sunshine and temperatures around 7 to 9 degrees through the day. Up across Labrador, your temperatures between 1 and about 6. Warmest will be in central Labrador. Long range forecast showing the chance of flurries pretty much right across the board as we head into Sunday. Temperatures between 2 and 4 degrees. Overnight lows not moving too much either, between 0 and about +2 as we get into Sunday, but it is looking very Newfoundland spring-like, that's for sure. Now for central Newfoundland, you're looking at that risk of flurries in the forecast right through to Friday. By Saturday, it's looking like all rain and between 6 and 8 degrees. The best weather on the west coast, as it always happens this time of year, between 9 and 10 degrees as we head into the weekend. So certainly looking absolutely beautiful. Now for eastern Labrador, look at your temperatures, 6 to 10 with sunshine for Saturday and Sunday, and even western Labrador, you're going to get into some of that milder air as well, between 6 to 9 with the chance of some showers. Now, just before we leave you tonight, another sunset beauty picture. This one, this time of Terrence Pond. Catherine shared this great shot with us, and if you have any, you can send them to Facebook Facebook, Twitter, or email them. That's the best place. nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, just beautiful. Thank you, Catherine. We should all head to Eastern Labrador for the weekend, I think.
I think that's a great idea. Meet you there.
Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.